Bonita never imagined that Miss Urgent Matter Queen would take her back to the old house where she lived. As she walked inside, she felt countless gazes fixed on her, which made her move even closer to the woman in front of her. People's excessive interest scared her, and she wondered how the other had put up with it for so long. With people in front and behind her, Bonita felt as if she were being filmed in a movie, with the curious gazes of her old neighbors acting as cameras. Not far away, she saw Kem standing behind the fence, looking at her with an expression that was hard to read, almost frightening. She could only stare at him for a moment before. Looking away, unlike Kuraphat, who stared back at her without fear. In the end, Kem lowered his head and walked into his house. "What are we doing here?" Bonita whispered. "They say I bought you with money, so I thought I should come and buy you for real. What do you think?" "It's not funny," she replied seriously. "I'm not kidding, I'm serious." Kuraphat couldn't stand to see Bonita scared or lost every time matters related to her mother or old friends came up. If she had run away to start over, then she wanted her to really succeed. "I already said that everything that scares you, I will destroy." Her serious tone and expression left her speechless. Bonita meant that her fear was already diminishing, leaving only the doubt as to whether she was really worthy of being chosen by her. If he weren't deluding himself, he would realize that, between them, actions have spoken louder than words for a long time now. When they reached the door of the house, Bonita hesitated, unable to take another step. Kuraphat held her hand and pulled her inside. "Let's go, your mother is waiting." "Waiting?" "Yes, before that I talked to her." Bonita only understood what was happening when she saw her mother sitting on the sofa in the middle of the room. The furniture was nowhere near new enough to accommodate someone like Miss Queen, but she sat down without hesitation. Suddenly, the house seemed even older and more worn in her presence. The image made Bonita understand how a person's aura can influence the environment around them so much. "Sit here next to me," Kuraphat said, looking at her firmly. She complied, sitting down beside her as one of her men placed a manila envelope on the table. "All the documents you asked for are here." Bonita's mother glared at her daughter, conveying resentment without saying a single word. Bonita had put her in a difficult position, especially now that she was facing someone so powerful. On top of that, Kem was constantly pressuring her, demanding that she return the money if she didn't bring Bonita back to him. "Read the documents before you sign," Kuraphat said, handing them to her. Bonita frowned, not understanding until she heard the next sentence. Her heart froze. "The amount you asked for in exchange, for Bonita's complete freedom." So in the end, did her mother still see her as something that could be bought and sold like before? Could anyone, as long as they had enough money, have her? "A house with land in the chosen province and payment of all your current debts," Kuraphat added. "Can I sign now?" Bonita's mother interrupted, not even bothering to read it. All she wanted was to get the money and get out of there as quickly as possible. She felt a slight pang in her heart as she thought that in the future, when she was old and sick, there would be no one to take care of her. But the thought soon disappeared when she saw the sum offered. "Mother." "Don't call me that. This is all your fault. Happy now, finally free." Bonita remained silent. "Ooh-hoo," Kuraphat cleared his throat, interrupting. She had brought Bonita so she could see for herself that she was free, not to hear insults or words that would make her cry. "Do you want her to sign?" Bonita's face reflected sadness, something she couldn't ignore. He snatched the papers before she could respond. If she didn't want it. This deal wouldn't happen. Bonita didn't answer right away. She looked at her mother, searching for some sign of love or regret. She found none. What she saw was a stranger, someone driven only by greed. For a long time, she tried to ignore this because she believed it was her duty to take care of the woman who had given her life. But now, that obligation was over. There was no path left to follow. "Sign it," she said in a low voice. That was the last thread that still connected the two, and his mother didn't hesitate for a second before cutting him off. The instant the signature was made, Bonita felt her body light, as if something heavy had been lifted from within her. The sensation was so strong that she clung to Miss Queen's arm, afraid of disappearing, of getting lost. Now Bonita was completely alone, with no family, with no one to care about. I hope there will be no more interviews, no more ambushes at the university to demand money or make scandals, she said, reinforcing the agreement. I know, Bonita's mother replied harshly. Kuraphat signaled for one of his men to hand the suitcase full of money to the woman. Then he stood up and pulled Bonita along with him. There's nothing here left for you to hold on to. Starting today, I want you to start over without having to hide or be afraid. Bonita nodded in agreement. She held tightly onto the other woman's arm. For the first time, her body felt so light. It wasn't from happiness at leaving her mother behind, but rather from a sense of relief, as if all the weight she had been carrying had been lifted from her shoulders. She didn't know if she would have reached this moment if she hadn't met that woman in the store that day. Maybe she would still be living in hiding, afraid of being discovered for the rest of her life. Thank you, Queen. And now, do you still want me to stay? Boss, be careful. Kem quickly advanced with a kitchen knife towards Kuraphat. As he had just left the gates of the house, no one had time to react. It all happened very quickly. The man camouflaged himself among the onlookers and at the right moment landed a direct blow to Kuraphat's abdomen before fleeing. Queen. Bonita's delicate shoulder was gripped tightly. She saw the other woman frown, but this time it was different. It seemed like she was trying to hold back the pain. Some security guards ran after Kem, while others called the ambulance with tense expressions. The people around panicked, backing away like a scattered swarm of bees. No one dared to approach Kuraphat. Why didn't you dodge? Bonita screamed, unable to contain herself. If the woman had moved even a little, she would have gotten out of the knife's reach. But she stood her ground, protecting Bonita, and that was why she ended up injured. It's the first time I've been stabbed. You think this is something to record as a statistic. Bonita's voice trembled, her eyes burning as she saw Kuraphat's pained expression. She was not used to this and did not want to see this scene ever again. Last time, you were willing to die for me. Kuraphat was referring to the glass of drink Bonita drank in her place. If it had been poisoned, she certainly wouldn't be here now. Now it's my turn. Don't be like that. Bonita sobbed, kneeling on the ground. She touched the woman's face, trying to keep her conscious. Her face was getting paler and paler. Fortunately, Kem didn't pull out the knife, because if he had, Kuraphat would have already lost too much blood. I don't like to owe anyone anything. You may owe me, but not like this. It hurts a lot. Kuraphat swallowed hard, feeling pain spread throughout her body. She could barely move. Her eyes searched for her subordinates who were waiting for orders. If I die, don't forget. Who said you're going to die? Bonita interrupted firmly, pressing her fingers into her skin. If you die, I won't love you anymore. I'll love someone else, kiss and hug anyone just to tease you. It would have been an effective threat, if not for that last detail. Kuraphat wanted to respond, but he couldn't speak anymore. I'm scared, do you understand? Ahem. Of course she understood. Having dealt with so many people throughout her life, she knew from the beginning that Bonita feared abandonment, feared no one needed her anymore. The only way to give her security was this. Kuraphat knew that Kem would not remain silent if she appeared here. However, she did not expect him to be so bold as to act in such a way. She could have dodged the blow, but if she did, the blade would have hit Bonita. Therefore, she chose to remain still. She took the risk because she knew it would solve many issues. If she died, the game would end there. But if she survived, all of Bonita's fear and distrust would disappear. And if you die, what about me? I won't die with you, but I will live in the way that would disappoint you the most. I will be rebellious, love anyone, ignore everything, just to make you sad for having done so. What a well-crafted threat for someone so small. Kuraphat squeezed her hand in response, signaling that he understood. The sound of the ambulance siren grew closer. His vision began to blur, and Bonita's image became hazy. Perhaps she was losing too much blood. What she was doing now was no different than a game of Russian roulette. The only question was whether or not she would survive. "Don't sleep. Don't close your eyes, understand? Stay with me, my love." Bonita whispered softly, pressing her forehead against Kuraphat's. Tears streamed down her face, but Kuraphat could no longer sense that someone was crying desperately for her. Kuraphat's family quickly arrived at the hospital. Kita held onto his mother, while Wasan had a tense face. The surroundings were silent. Kirin didn't scold Bonita. Seeing the young woman sitting there, crying until she was shaking, with her eyes swollen and red, he realized that it wasn't the right time. No one asked what had happened. The most important thing now was Kuraphat's safety in the operating room. Kita let out a big sigh. He should have paid more attention to the message his sister sent earlier. "If something happens, don't let Bonita suffer. Don't let Mommy blame her." Initially, he thought it was something related to Kuraphat, and had already resolved this issue with that man. Even though he had to use harsh words and even force, it was clear that Kuraphat posed no threat to Kuraphat or him. "Mom, sit down first." HMMM. Lady Kirin sat waiting in front of the operating room, in a chair not far from Bonita. All was silent until, in the next hour, the door to the operating room opened, followed by the doctor, who said something. The sound of Bonita's sobs rang out, loud enough for Kirin to reach out and squeeze her shoulder. "Why are you crying so much? My daughter isn't dead yet." "But Mrs. Queen got hurt because of me." "What do you mean, because of you?" "Well, today." "Mom, I think it's better if we wait for Queen to tell this story herself, don't you think?" Kita interrupted the conversation. He knew very well what would happen if Bonita told the truth. In the worst-case scenario, she could be taken away from Kuraphat, so it was better to wait for his sister to wake up and explain everything in person. As controlling as his mother was, she always took Kuraphat's feelings into consideration. Since his sister never accepted anything that didn't please her. "Are you hiding something from me, King?" "No, Mom, but it seems like this is something Queen already foresaw might happen." "Did she foresee it?" "Yes." Lady Kirin stared at her son for a long time before sighing and nodding. "Okay, we'll do it like this." But to Bonita, that didn't make any sense. The words she had heard could be interpreted in many ways. What did King mean by? Queen already saw this coming. It wasn't just Lady Kirin who was being left in the dark. Queen was also hiding something from her.